Good afternoon. Welcome to the Communities of Faith Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Wednesday, the 25th of March. So, firstly, apologies for absence.
We've got apologies for absence from Councillor Azakar-Nevin. We've got Councillor Swinbank here as a substitute. So,
Yep.
hello.
So, welcome, Martin.
And I've got apologies for Councillor Dodd.
Yep.
Is there anybody else?
No, that's been approved. No, okay. Thank you very much. Then we'll go on to the minutes of the previous meeting, which have been circulated. Are we happy there are two record?
Yeah.
Agreed. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can I just ask you about on page 19? Liaising with the office regarding update on the regulator. I just want to know where that's going, please.
Sorry, page
It's page 19.
19. Regulator social housing inspection. Oh yes, we've asked them to do a report, haven't we?
Yes.
What's happening with that?
Simon Nielsen was in discussion with the chief exec. So it's just a case of it's being formulated. It's just a case of waiting for it to come through. But I haven't received any information on that. So
Well, if you can give them a little pod, just for where they are with that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Anything else on the Councillor Wall, welcome. Just on the minutes of the previous meeting. All agreed? Yep. Okay. Moving on, the declaration of interest. Anybody? Other than we've all moving a pothole. No, right. Board plan of cabinet decisions.
yeah, that's the agenda item for the report is in two parts. The first is the decisions made by Council Cabinet on the 10th of March, and also the forward plan of decisions to be made by Cabinet and members and clarification.
That sounds good. To note that. Oh, happy to know that. Okay. Thank you very much. So then we'll move on to highways maintenance update. So Councillor Maid is going to introduce this, and then we'll go to Chris to do the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thank you for inviting us here to talk about the highways maintenance update. We've got Chris Westby, who's the head of highways, and Andy Olive, who's the highways delivery manager. That'll be going through the presentation. We really do welcome your questions and your scrutiny. We know our highways are not perfect, but what I can guarantee is we've got an excellent team that are dedicated and striving to improve. And I think that's the most important thing that we've got. They're well known for their ability nationally, and Chris was recently speaking at the Future Highways Summit. So it just shows the value that we've got here in Northumberland within our team. It's a large asset, as you can see by one of the slides. It's the largest owned asset by this council, and it's a real complex mix of both rural and urban roads. And it's the largest, most diverse road network in England. So you can see the challenges that we're up against to get maintenance right. We have been recently evaluated and scored nationally, and we scored an amber, narrowly missing a green by 0.4%. Which is, a real testament to the team's work on such a challenging network. We've moved to a 3-year LTP, and we honestly believe that will only help improve our highways going forward. Here comes the good to see you.
We prematurely gave you apologies, but we're glad to see you.
You're not really scheduled. And also we've managed to secure some additional funding in the budget again to improve that maintenance, and that really came from work from scrutiny that's been done over the previous 4 years. So we were able to secure enough funding for an additional gully tanker, an additional road sweeper, and £4 million for UCs and footways over the 3-year budget. So yes, so welcome any questions. I'll hand over to Chris and Andy to present the.
Sorry, Councillor Dale.
Yeah, can I just add to that? You mentioned the scrutiny committee over the last 3 years has done a tremendous amount of work on scrutiny work, but in particular, we've done Storm Arwen, but in particular highways. So we've been enabled by working together, enabled to get the best report out and review the best report and look at the things that the best report brought out and actually follow them through. So here we can also scrutinise to see how that is going as well. But it's all to do with everybody working together and really getting a good look at and involvement with highways, because it's one of the biggest assets we have and probably the biggest complaints we get. So I'll just say thanks to Mark for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, Chris, if you'd like to
Yeah.
take to the presentation.
Afternoon, everybody. Well, pick away.
Up on the screen. There to you.
Lots of you, I don't think there's many who don't know who I am. So I'm currently head of highways. Previously, I was the highway delivery manager. Before that, I was the area manager for Tyndale for 4 or 5 years. Before that, I worked on Northern Bypass, Southeast Northern Strategic Link Road to get that up and running. Before that, I used to do all structures across the county and run all servicing schemes from the northern area. Before that, I was private sector. Before that, I was Wandsbeg District Council. In fact, when Wandsbeg was the District Council. So, been around for a while, across the county. Like to think I've got a broad knowledge of what's going on. And what I've been striving to do, I'm not is get Northumberland in a good position nationally to ensure that we are performing the best we possibly can with the tools we've got here and what kind of budget.
Yeah.
So Andrew's going to pick up the middle part of the section. Andrew's the highway delivery manager. Andrew was area manager in Tyndale before that. There's not a pattern there. If you work in Tyndale, you don't go. It's just the way it works. So Andrew looks after all the area managers and all the maintenance teams in the capital delivery program. I'll go through in highways law because it's key to understand what our statutory duty is as an authority. It's a legal obligation to maintain the highway. We look at the budget position over the last few years. I'll discuss the asset in itself and what the road hierarchy means, because it's key to show you scrutiny panel how we categorize our roads. Look at the reactive maintenance teams. We'll touch a little bit on the difference with reactive and capital best practices, and then drainage stuff and connected data systems. I've got a small slot in there for a live demo, which if I can plug in and show you, because I'll do a lot of talking about things and a lot of talking about systems, but the proof of the pudding's kind of eating for me. So I can show scrutiny panel actuals, what's going on the network as a live piece of work. Like this.
Me neither.
I want to talk about technology and I can't use technology. So that's our legal position there. Why do we do it? We've got a duty under the Highways Act, Section 41, to maintain the highway at public expense. So that's what your revenue budget's for and your capital. So yeah, we've got a defence against damages, Section 58. So I'll show you what we've got system-wise, why we've got fixed line street, why we've got an asset management system, why we're using AI cameras to collect data, and the council's got to keep up the 15-year record, everything that we do. Inspections of roads, inspections of footpaths, works instructed, etc., etc., etc. And that's part of our defence for insurance claims, if anyone's had an accident. As Mark touched on, 3,200 miles of road. I used to put that in kilometres because it was a 5,300 kilometres, but based on feedback from members and scrutiny panels, I've changed that now to miles. So it's 3,200 miles of road, 1,600 miles of footway. As you'll appreciate, when I was here last month, we talked about highway development management in housing estates. The assets get bigger and bigger, so we're not decreasing in size. We've very, very large amount of structures and culverts and retaining walls. We've got a really strong structures team within the county council who support neighbouring authorities across the region as well. So our structures team work for North Tyneside, South Tyneside, Newcastle City. We're liaised with Durham County Council as well, because that structures team is really robust and technically competent. 51,000 streetlights and illuminate 86,000 bunnies and a lot of drainage assets, safety fences, verges, trees, etc. So big old county, a lot to maintain. But what we've got sitting above all that is our TAMP If no one's seen the TAMP or would like to see the TAMP piece, I can share the TAMP. It's a document out there. So that's all our asset types. Mark touched on, it's a council's largest asset. Last time it was valued, it was 5.9 billion. It was the value of our asset. So the TAMP looks at that, what we're going to do, how we're going to act as a council going forward, how we're going to spend our money. We've got highways, they're inspected, repaired. We've got resource record keeping. We've got asset condition, which we push on, and then we've got to maintain that investment. And then if we link all those together, what that allows us to do is be more efficient as a highways team. We know where the problems are, which has helped us. That process has helped us build this 3-year LTP program, which we've gone for, which got signed up for cabinet a couple of weeks back. So that gives us 3 years worth of fixed work, which allows us to plan better, resource a lot more efficiently, look at network impact with utility providers, housing developers, etc., and then get best value for money with suppliers and contractors. So the TAMP's fundamental for all that. Those are the budgets. So as revenue, self-explanatory, we split gully maintenance away from the revenue activity just so you can see what we spend on gully cleansing. Street lighting, peak point on the street lighting, we did the modernisation programme a few years ago, but that's still got a revenue pressure for electricity charges, but that's around 200,000 this end of this financial year. But if you just think what that revenue pressure could have been if we hadn't done the modernisation programme, so that's been a really good investment in the LED scheme and the automatic dimming of lights and what we do with that. Capital, 24 million, 25, 26. So your capital is all your larger schemes, structural patching works, resurfacing works, footpath works, cycleway schemes we can see. And then as Mark touched on earlier, we've got the additional 4 million UNC money. We had the additional 15 million total UNC money previous years. And then we've got to look at NECA modelling going forward. So NECA cabinet, we're expecting them to release the next 3 years capital investments. So we'll see what NECA does. And if there's any challenge fund pots that come through from Department for Transport or NECA, Northumberland's been one of the most successful councils in getting challenge fund money in the past. We've been successful on 3 bids. I don't know if you can remember timber transport money when we got a few million quid for timber transport. We've done the bridges and structures money and additional roads money as well. So I'll throw that out. We just need to know where they want the information. But everything I've talked about leads up to being able to bid, being able to get money externally, ensure that we get value for money as well. So 2.8 million revenue budget, but that's county-wide revenue budget for the 4 areas. Yeah, so what we do hierarchy-wise is we categorize all our roads. So we've got 1, 2, 3 major distributor. Just because it's a 2 doesn't mean it's not classed the same as. So if we take the A189, the spine road, for example, take the strategic network, but the B1340 is exactly the same criteria because it feeds the town, it feeds the locality, it's on a bus route. So they're the sort of criteria we look at. The A197, around the southeast sector, that's tracked exactly the same as the 1068, the A68. But all that hierarchy is on our website. Everyone can see it. So if you want hierarchy information, we'll give you. We structure our own network like that because that's how we bid for demands. Each hierarchy, 1 to 8 or 9, has got a different level of feedback. And if you look at on-service road at 9, we don't inspect those, we just base that on third-party requests. So if there's a lot of category road, we do this. On those roads, we inspect at a set frequency. So each road and footpath is inspected at least once every 12 months by our inspection teams. And that's a general condition, general safety inspection, where they're looking for actionable defects. And then they'll give the footway a general condition score of good, very good, etc. Then they'll give the carriageway the same scoring. But those inspections are done monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, annually. And as I said, the unsurfaced aren't done at all. They're just on ad hoc requests. But all our network is split down into those categories, and that's footwear and carriageway. There'll be some carriageway and footwear inspections will be combined. So if we take Hexham Town Centre, Alnwick, Beddleton, Ashington, all those town centres are classed the same. So there'll be a combined monthly inspection on town centres. So every town centre we've got is inspected on a monthly basis by the highways. That's how it's a bit of a struggle range, but that's how the areas split up. 4 operation areas, 12 inspectors. Each inspector's got a reactive maintenance team. And that's how our revenue teams are set up. So that's the 2.8 million I mentioned before. That's got to pay for area teams, reactive maintenance teams, and all the materials and plant that go alongside that activity. No quotas on this, but last time we did it, we've got 12 highways inspectors, and that only gives them around a budget of 60,000 revenue to spend per inspector. So that's the kind of numbers we're talking about for those reactive maintenance repairs. Remember, that's reactive maintenance repairs. Make safe repairs, part of your section 41 defence to say we've maintained and we've inspected this road, footpath, whatever it may be. We've made it safe when we recognise there's a defect there.
Chris, you need to point it here.
Oh, is that why?
Enjoying watching.
Okay, so yeah, we've got 12 highway inspectors that they're not getting any younger, so we brought some apprentices forward the last few years. So we're investing highly in apprenticeships. They'll do a level 3 NVQ civil engineering apprentice, and then they'll do a LANTRA training course. So the LANTRA training course is a nationally recognised training course, but they'll train that on our policies and our inspection manual and our hierarchy and things like that. We capture everything digitally. There's only paperwork if there's a failure. Everything's just passed to individual teams based on instructions, and then we record everything digitally with photographs. Because then when we've got an example of an insurance claim, we can search on that section of road and we get all the details, and we've got everything there for the council's defence. On top of all that, yeah, like I mentioned, we've got signs, lines, safety fences, traffic lights. Cat's eyes is always the one that's raised. Why are you filling the cat's eyes in? The cat's eyes have got me there, but then we do fill the cat's eyes in, but then we look at a safety scheme and we invest capitally for refreshing lines and signs, because there's a lines and signs budget within the capital programme, which we've increased this year to focus more on lines and signage going forward, because we recognise that's an issue that's been raised based on Fix My Street reports and members' feedback.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry. Yep.
Just going to ask you something about the traffic light. So we still outsource that to Newcastle City Council?
At the moment, yes.
And is that just a monetary thing, or?
No, we've got a service level agreement across the region. So we've got mutual assistance agreements with all neighbouring authorities down to sort of Hartlepool. So where we share our specific skills with each other. What happened with the signals is we signed an agreement with Newcastle City about 2 years ago, a refreshed one, but then Newcastle's had some issues, and we're just feeling the pain with that at the minute. So we're looking at options and what we do going forward.
How long is a contract? I mean, if
It's not a contract, so we can come out at any time we want.
so are we thinking of having our own traffic light, repair team, basically, because that's where most of the incidents come from, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to wait quite a while
Yeah.
when Newcastle have come out.
So there's two concerns with that. Is we're relying on a neighbouring authority who's struggling at the minute, which we've had multiple meetings with to say, can you do? So we're waiting for that feedback from the city. There's the training element to make sure that all our staff are up to the standard for the kit that's in there. And then there's the business case to recruit additional staff to allow us to take that on. So if we do decide that this year, I can't see that being resolved with 12 months minimum. There are contractors available that we can tap into, but we're just giving Newcastle City the opportunity at the moment, because we don't really want to cut ties because they've done a lot of good work over the last few years. So I'm working with Pamela Holmes across in Newcastle on that. I was just talking about last week about it actually. So I'm just waiting for some feedback. We put a new management team in place. We know the manager because he used to work for us on the A69. So we know that he'll be a good recruitment. But we're just waiting to see what they say. It's not beyond our gift. And if I can do it, I'll do it. If I've got to do it, we'll do it. But we want to work with others on it. And it saves money at the end of the day.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Okay, so I'll pass over to Andy.
I'll give Chris 2 minutes rest. I'll go through a couple of slides for him. Third-party reports of defects. Fundamentally, we've got a well-established tool which we use to fix my street for highways, which is a godsend really, because as Chris has touched on there, we've got 3,200 miles of carriageway to maintain, with 12 areas, 12 inspectors, 12 associated response gangs, and it's a tool for our aid to keep the network safe, not just for highways itself, but also for you as elected members, visitors to their district, to Northumberland, and also the residents of Northumberland County Council. So what happens with the Fix My Street report is once the report's raised, will automatically be issued to the highway inspector or officer, depending on what the defected asset is involved. And through the hierarchy, it's the same as inspection process. So road category 1 to 4, we aim to be there within 2 working days. 5 to 8 will be 5 working days. And 9 is unsurfaced road, which will look out within 15 working days and works raised. Once works raised, an update will gone through the Fix My Street report. And once completed, an update will be sent through the Fix My Street system. I'll try and nip this in the bud now because I imagine there will be a question or two. It's always work in progress with Fix My Streets. We're updating each week. And one of my key goals is to just maintain that what Chris started.
It doesn't work very quite that way, does it? Double touch.
Feedback responses. I'm actually finding a pothole. I've actually brought you the visual there to have a look at. But there's a brownie point if you can tell me what a pothole is. Any takers? Size, dimensions?
But that way.
3 inches.
No.
Millimeters.
What do you find a pothole? Well, a pothole
I'll give you one.
is 40 millimetres deep by 300 millimetres wide in any direction, which we class as actionable, which we'll maintain going forward. So to divide that between the 2 categories, which we've got is defect category 1 and 2, a 1 very high or 1 high, which means the repair will be made within 2 hours, which is normally done by the highway inspector, and that's deemed to be represented there, you know. Or 1H will be repaired, make safe for the next 24 hours. Defect category 2 is 2H, 2 medium or 2 low. Again, repair times is 14 days, 28 days. And plan works. Between the hierarchies of the road network, as touched on before, 1 till 6, so that's just 2 high, and 7 and 8 are 2 medium. Defect assessment and response times. If a defect meets the criteria in our intervention level, we assess this by a risk inspectors assess it by a risk approach. And that depends on the hierarchy of the carriageway, if it's an A, B or C road or a classified road. Position of the highway, is it on the running track, the wheel line, centre line, or edge line for cyclists. And the response times vary between the 2 hours, next working day, 14 days, and 28-day repair. All these defects are recorded through our Ally system. Photos are taken of the defect. Response gang will go out, make safe the defect, take a photo, upload it in Alloy, so it's all there for traceability. Repairs and instructed over the last couple of years, so summary by year. I'll just touch on 24 and 25. Total defects peaked in 2024, followed by the reduction in 2025. Customers' defects increased, which is a positive sign, meaning more people are using Fix My Streets. And the 2026 high customer share shows a shift towards a reporting-driven demand. 2025 inspector defects is 32,445. Customer defects were 10,969. So the total defects was 43,214. I've just updated 2026 before I come in here this afternoon. So the inspector defects to date, January, February, March, 10,528. Customer defect report is 8,737. And so the total defects for the first 3 months, not quite finished yet, is 19,226.
19, right,
19,000.
19 for the first quarter.
That's 3 months, January, February. 19,226.
Right.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor.
Can I just help, because this is one of the things really got things to say about, is the use of Fix My Street, and I can show you a thing. And it's the actual, this is the thing that concerns me, 43% that are actually reported are actionable.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to bring something about letting people know how big it should be.
Yeah.
Because I think if you look at a lot of things that are put on Fix My Street, they're tiny, but you still have to manage them. And that all takes time and money.
I'm going to cover that in me when I plug in, and I can show you and I'll demonstrate
Right.
what the residents and reporters can see.
Yeah.
But that don't necessarily choose to read. So it's how we act, how can we go forward, getting that information out to residents to show what we're going to show you today. That's what an actionable defect is classed as, in line with our policy. And an actionable defect within 40 millimetres by 300 millimetres is what we deem, and it's nationally, it's not just Northumberland, everyone uses the same metrics, is that we deem that as an actionable defect before it becomes dangerous. So it's I'm out of ideas.
I've got some
So-
ideas. What you said earlier on, do you want me
It's how we can raise that, but I can cover that later on in the presentation.
Yeah, Councillor, is it the same point or was it?
Yeah, these figures you've just given us, Andy, the updated figures, they seem quite high. I'm about to assume that this is a seasonal thing. So therefore, you've got a lot more in the first 3
It
months.
definitely is a seasonal thing.
So these will obviously go well low in the summer, and at the end of the year, they'll probably just match up what you had last year or something like that.
If not lower,
Hopefully lower.
Obviously, from 2nd of January, we had a bit of snow throughout the county, which lasted 9 days, a long cold spell. And we had the rain, we had the thaw,
It's real yesterday, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
It doesn't
which
really
is
better.
contributed
Important it.
to the potholes, but we all get demand.
Yes.
It's the same every year.
Yeah.
If we get any better, I'll have as much hair as these two. Fingers crossed.
yeah, Councillor Dodd.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fuss in the newspaper of an MP in the county making a big display that this council is dreadful. Our highways are dreadful. Do we have a graph that can actually tell us over the term of 5, 10, 15-year period? Because I go back quite a way, where the first budget to ever be cut was highways.
Oh,
So I would like to know, maybe not for this meeting, is what is the graph to the council's spend, because that changes all the time, to what actually goes on roads and highways. Because I always chuck back when someone says, oh, I'm closing a road today, I can't use it. I says, be thankful that you've got money coming in to spend and fix your road. Always be thankful that a road is being fixed, because the margins must be very small on whether this road's fixed or that road's fixed. But do we have an overall going back a fair way to see what percentage or what the scores on the doors would look like before an MP opens his mouth and says they're dreadful, or the county's dreadful. You have that.
Well, we've got the DFTs, we've got the DFT metrics now, the scoring, and I'm happy to meet the MP and show exactly what I'm showing you, the data scrutiny, just as an educational piece.
You ain't dry, so you wouldn't know.
Well, we'll see, but we'll have revenue budgets on spend, but we'll not have, I don't think the detail you're after, but we've got, so part of all this, we score against, we've got to input the APSI, we've got to do national highways and transportation surveys, KPIs into DFT, so all our data is transparent. The FOIs we get is unbelievable on potholes, revenue budgets, how much you spend per kilometre, etc., etc., etc. So we'll have all the data. It's just pulling into something meaningful where it means something.
Well, if this chat keeps going, I think I, like others, would like to know what the proper picture is.
I think, Richard, from a council point of view, we would welcome any MP if they want to come in and go through this information so they're better informed before they go to the press with their opinions. Because I think if they came in and seen all the good work that has been done with the KPIs, they would maybe not go spouting off. And if I was an elected member as an MP, I'd be going out hunting for more money to be spent in the area rather than pulling the council apart. It would be my opinion. But we'll continue with
Councillor Dale's got a comment.
Can I just bring it, I think we've got to be careful here because over a long period of time, there's lots of things that happen. And also the rate of inflation, etc. So if we started looking at the figures here and added the rate of inflation on, you'll find that the actual spend's gone down because of inflation. There's all kinds of things.
But interest rates have been low as well.
That's not the only thing. The other thing is, I mean, for instance, if you look at Tynedale's got a lot more, but because it's a rural area specifically, but also we have got landowners who need to be more proactive in keeping the water off the land. That's farmers, landowners, anybody on the street. So it isn't anybody's particular blame, but there has been climate change. And I think this year we haven't had as much snow by any means, but the rain has been horrendous. I saw the A68 being resurfaced. Now it looks like a jigsaw puzzle. And that's not to do with the problem of the highways. They've taken all the water they can do. It's coming off the land from landowners who need, and we all need to work together. So it isn't anybody's blame. It's the weather. And as somebody said, can you stop it down? I said, well, go to church and pray, because that's just about all you can do. But we need to all work responsibly to ensure that the county can actually deliver and act. But that means all of us working together. Mark knows that, and we've had that conversation over the years. I mean, I've got that as responsibility. The property owners and everything else, has that gone out everywhere?
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody's got it, but they should have it, because that part of actually ownership, they're taking responsibility. So I do know when I did audit work, going into Tynedale when you had the floods, I had to go in and there's a book which you put marked every pothole when they men were going around looking at the addressing all the highways. And I think it was number 12, 11 and 12 all went down to the DFT at the time. They knew how many potholes we have. And I think you have to do that now. Everybody.
We've got to submit, everything I'm talking to you about today
Absolutely.
is submitted nationally and it's submitted back to government. So everything that we're doing as a council, as an authority, is completely transparent. So go hide. Back to your point, Richard, is the problem we've got and what every authority's got is that not everyone's the same. Not everyone's structured the same. Not everyone's budget allocation is the same. We're in the financial SIPFA groups, so we've got to abide by the SIPFA financial regulations, but everyone's network's different as well. So when you say they'll ask you how much a pothole costs on average, that's one of the questions we've got to submit on. You're not comparing apples with apples. So as a collective, I'm part of direct management group through local council's innovation group. I chair the Northeast Highways Committee as well. So as a region and nationally, when I was down at a conference last week, nationally, we're talking to the Department of Transport to try and get some realistic metrics out there where people can look at them and they're meaningful. What we've done as the council now is we've put we've always had corporate performance KPIs, but those performance figures are going to the public now. So we've got one on potholes for the public to see what we're doing and how we're doing, and that's going to be published through the new reports going forward. But the budget thing's always a difficult one because you've got an asset worth £5 billion, which is constantly deteriorating. You've got a huge network of 3,200 miles.
Inflation.
Our job with the capital programme is to try and get as much mileage repaired for at best value and the right fix at the right time. But we're normally just getting around, don't put these figures in your. We're normally getting around, what is it, is it 70 miles, 70, 80 miles, if you put the rest in? 70, 80 miles of road repaired.
6.4.
Yeah, on a yearly basis. So 70 odd miles on a 3,200 meters. It's constant. The alarm survey came out last week, so that's the national survey on networks and what the roads surface and treatment association feed into, and I think that's gone up to either £18 billion lack of investment across the UK. So it's not just, we're not just sitting here in a silo as Northumberland going, oh, this is pressure. It's a national pressure, and every council's fighting to try and do the best and use, I'm stealing your thunder a bit, yes, but use the best available techniques to repair them.
Well, so we continue with this presentation and we can get onto the fun interactive thing, which is really good.
Just the next slide, just to touch on, Richard, we've got some performance figures for the 24-25 season, 25-26 season. So a couple of years ago, predominantly Tyndale had 8,000 potholes. Again, that's due to the nature of the terrain, what's there, and winter service, again, pulls into that. For the January, February, March time, we've only identified 6 of the high ground routes, 800 plus, which normally takes a hit. But over the 24-25 season, we're averaging between 68 and 97% of completing all pothole repairs, make saves. For the 25-26 season, the reduction of potholes is visible on the network, and which improved. In 25-26, we were sitting in the high 90s, hitting our targets for our KPIs, and hopefully the same will continue, which is fantastic. Repair types, we've got a few different types of repair types within highways itself. Individual defect repair is when you see 2 men and a pickup go around our section 58 defence. It's just make that pothole safe. It doesn't look pretty at the time. We need to do for the statutory duty. And I do take on board, I've had some feedback about the standard repairs, which we have been looking at, and we'll address that going forward. But just the volume of potholes over the January, February, March time is unprecedented every year. Patching capital funded, different types, which is picked up by the highways inspectors, which put for planned works, which is capital general maintenance budgets through your refurb money. All these works for major works need street work accreditations to book road space under the permits. Road closures 12 weeks. You can get an emergency road closure, which gives you a week, but it's very difficult to do for planned works. So we need to plan ahead, which we have done going forward with our 3-year programme, which is ideal. Anything within the maintenance teams itself, for the highway inspectors, the engineers, if they can control what's on the network at the time, pass that through to the asset management team, which would push for the LTP, resurfacing or major packaging works.
Okay, and then just on the capital, just to keep on the capital funding piece. If you've got a question on why can't you cut out and repair the road first time, like a first time fix? So why do you make safe first and then pothole, and then structural patch, sorry? We did a piece of work about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, where we got some capital investment to first time fix everything in line with what the inspectors are doing on a daily basis. And the value for money, the square meterage rate, it triples. So if you're just reacting and repairing, So if you think you've got a pothole in the middle of the road, I mean, Andy's got his pothole dimensions there, but I don't know what the best place to put them, but we've got some 3D printed potholes so everyone can see what the dimensions of the pothole, what it looks like. But if you've got a pothole in the middle of the road that needs repaired, you've got to set the traffic management up, you've got to cut that piece of road out, you've got to fill it with material, and then you've got to leave that material to set and cure and then move on to the next one. That's like a 2-3 hour process minimum. So you're only getting 2 or 3 potholes, 4 locations at any one time. With a make safe repair, you're up to 40s and 50s a day. Plus, if you did that on your revenue budget, you would run out of revenue money fairly quickly, and then you would have a big 3/4 of the way into the year, you would have a big problem.
But what we have learned from that is the secondary process, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it's making sure that we then go back on persistent offenders and making sure they are structurally patched. So we're not just leaving splodgers and keeping going back. We are bringing up a plan where we'll go back and structural patch them in a planned process.
And how is that captured as well, which
I'll show you later on. Yeah.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I'll just ask, what you're saying about emergency patch repairs. Do you get the public saying, oh, look at the state of this, the council's crap?
Yeah.
They can't even do that properly. Is it a sense of perception they don't understand that is just a temporary repair until you get it fixed, but it's just like, you're crap, you're useless, I'm wasting my taxpayers' money, etc., etc.
Yeah, and we've been there 5 times and you haven't done this. Now, I'll show you later on, but we can dispel that myth. We've
I
got
understand, but from their perception, they just see that all you've done is plug some tar in there and call that a job.
Yeah, and I think that's it. We're away and we'll never touch it again. But what they've got to remember is that'll be inspected. Or that road could have been inspected yesterday. That road could be on a monthly safety inspection.
Yeah.
So the inspector knows they're going to be back the next month. They're going to be back the next month, or they may know there's a local transport plan scheme to resurface that entire road in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, a month. So why would we spend that money on a permanent repair on that section of road if we're going to dig it all up and resurface it in 3 months' time? So that's the premise of the 3-year plan and 3-year programme.
Councillor Spadels?
Yeah, hi Chris.
Yeah.
A couple of things. I've been dealing with a problem in Bedlington Station by the new railway station.
Yeah.
It's the top of Westview. It's actually been put on Fix My Street by a member of the public because I actually saw him taking the photograph and I'd already told him I was going to take it up. So I took it up with Mark Ellis because he was the lead guy. It's Morgan Sindle's a problem. I stopped and spoke to the lady from Morgan Sindle who was there with the hard hat on, inspecting, doing something. And I said, what are you going to do about the pavement? And she said, oh, we're going to infill the trench that we've dug for the cables and patch up that piece there and patch that over there.
Next to Monsoon Takeaway, where they've took the clay.
No, it's actually turned into Barrington Road.
Yeah.
And you've got Westview on the right.
Yeah.
It's that corner there, the old milkman's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that concrete pathway there. Well, they used Bedlington as a depot for all the heavy stuff, for ballast and all the vehicles were parking on there during the that was being built. And it was cracked up before, it had cracks before, I'm not going to deny that, but it was badly cracked. Then they dug a trench for the cabling and they've dug and put posts in for signs. But now they're coming on with concrete and just filled it and patched it all in, and it's higgledy-piggledy and poor. So I sent photographs to Mark Ellis, and he said, oh, that's not good enough, I'll go and see Morgan Sindle. And they produced photographs which weren't as bad, but obviously weren't perfect. And then we come to a stalemate. So they've been and dug the other corners up on the other side of the road. They've tarmacked all those. So the whole pathway all the way around the station is tarmacked, and the car park. And all 3 corners on the road, but not that one. And it's left as it is. I've got a video of it.
So I'll have a look on my way back tonight. But
what
we're doing with that, all that work around all the stations and anything to do with Northumberland line stuff across the entire county, we're doing a handover process for Morgan Sindle, SLC, etc.
Because they said it comes outside of the footprint for the station.
Yeah.
I said, but you've used that for.
But they did the same at the co-op. I don't know if you've seen that, where they put the columns in at the co-op, and then they just dug the trench up and temporary stuff. Now they've resurfaced all that. So we're going back. We're inspecting. We're going back, and the area teams are making sure that it's reinstated to our our standard. So someone will be looking at it.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with it, but yeah.
The second thing was,
Yeah.
East Sleekburn Bridge and the parapets.
Yeah,
They were supposed to have been replaced and done last year, this year.
it's in the programme
Been
for
put off
this.
for next year.
It's in because we've got the cycleway scheme.
Yeah.
So we're trying to link in both schemes to lessen network impact. So we're pausing slightly off on a tangent here. But
Well, we can take up.
yeah, we're pausing that and we're going to jump across to QTS because we don't want to interrupt the development of the new data centre.
Okay.
But I can talk to you outside of that.
Yeah.
Right.
But actually, it's
Okay. So touch on that, touch on the capital works. Does everyone understand what the revenue, capital, safety, the process? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So we capture all, when I'm talking about we capture all that digitally, there's no paper, it's instant, it goes back, it all goes back to, so when we're looking at quality now, so we've got the systems in place, it's always a technical difficulty. We've got people on board, staff are, like, the highways teams in each area, they're all excellent members of the team, that they're well established, they're really knowledgeable, got a really difficult job, the day by day integration and impact with residents, they're at the forefront of what we do, but we've got to make systems simple to allow them to work and get us the data as a management team as well. So we get a lot of issues, exactly what the councillor raised before, was about, look at that, it's rubbish, the quality standards. So if we go back 3 years ago, you would get that report in, someone would go out and drive and have a look at it, they would take a look, they would make an assessment, they would come back, they would do something about it at the office. And so that was what, example, 2 hours or something, it would take someone to do that. So 2 hours wages, maybe 3. Now, they just go on to the website there, they punch in which team delivered the works, what date it was delivered, and that pulls all the photographic evidence of what the reinstatement's like, the condition when the teams left it. So time stamped, exactly what we need to see, conditions, so you can do all that QA stuff remotely and it's instant. Similar example there, how it integrates with the system. So when they press what they want to see on one screen, it pulls up all the data. So it pulls up the actual photograph taken by the teams, the location, what the condition was like, and the date as well. So that's instant. So what we're working on going forward is that QA, where we try and limit the quality. You've left some tarmac here, there's oil here, the condition's rubbish. So that's getting constantly monitored by the teams now as well. Capital works, so workforce currently in highways, when my remit is around 498 staff. We're really fortunate again in Northumberland because we've got our own direct labour workforce, which is around 250 staff. We're not at the abeyance of any contractors. We're completely within our own gift. We can do what we want, where we want, with the resources we've got, and we're not waiting for a contractor to come and do it for us, or any contractual negotiations around this was what was originally said and compensation against and stuff like that. So we've got our own surfacing team, which is run out in North. We deliver all our own surface dressing. We deliver neighbouring authority surface dressing for them as well. We do scheme for Gateshead, and we do North Tyneside.
For this year.
Yeah, so we're looking at doing works for North Tyneside as well, outside of what we do as a council. It's got no impact on the council's road network, it just fits in with the programme. We just extend the programme accordingly, we deliver council's work first, and then we look at the works after that. But really good team, really knowledgeable, constantly investing to subsidise us. We've got frameworks with contractors. DSD are our support contractor for surfacing. Generally, we get DSD to do. So we've got a 42-week program for surfacing on average, 42 weeks of the year where we surface in a road, wherever in the county. And then we've got a secondary program for our contractors, which isn't as intense, but covers off a lot of work, mainly night shift work, where we need to do night shift work, so it doesn't impact on our resources through the day. So DSD do that, that's a 3-year framework. Costs are fixed, even though we're seeing the challenges now of what's going on with the oil market, because obviously all of our products are bituminous, so it's all oil-based. you've got energy costs, you've got gas, so we're constantly in that battle of we want to increase charges by X%, this percent, but all our costs are fixed and are yearly fixed. So contractors have got to review yearly, but they've all got a ceiling, and that's all in line with the North East Procurement Organisation. Nipo? No, what else we're doing? So we're at the forefront of innovation and what's seen as best practice in accordance with the Road Surface Treatment Association, neighbouring authorities, and national policy. So we were one of the first ones to adopt the Pothole Pro. We've got that running how we want it to run. We've got the challenge with the Pothole Pro's always been getting the resource to drive the machine because it's a very skilled, complex kit. But Andrew's just done a whole a piece on who wants to drive the next Pothole Pro because we're looking to get a secondary Pothole Pro. We've got around eight members of staff interested in that. We've trialled the Elastomatic, so if you look on LinkedIn or anywhere who's pushing pothole repairs, I think Southampton portfolio holders just put a piece out last night about some new innovative technologies Southampton's going to use, and these are the benefits. We trialled that 2 years ago and we'll still use it. So 2 years ago we were using products that council such as bringing in now. We're working with our suppliers. So I was just at Tarmac yesterday, who's invested over £11 million in Barrisford Quarry, updating their Tarmac plant. So they've invested 11 million ready for Northumberland County Council because they've won the quarry materials framework that's coming into play. So I was with a national director of Tarmac on how Tarmac can help Northumberland Council going forward. We're looking at designing proprietary mixes specifically for Northumberland. So,
Just a quick one. This last
Chair.
So yes, I would see.
well, you hide behind him. I can't see. This Elastomat product, is that? I'll ask Andy because he knows what it's called. Was that the stuff you were going to use on Ferry Road?
No, Ferry Road down to Egger?
Yeah.
No, that's Miles McCallum, isn't it?
Because it's supposed to be.
So
It's going to have like elasticity in it.
yeah, but that we put that in industrial estates and like we did Barton Road, we did all at Pontyne, we've done a lot of industrial estates with that. Miles McCallum, it's cementitious, so it's really it's solid, basically. It's conscious of the Egger.
Yeah, it's got all the wagons in it. It's getting a bit of vibration in houses and businesses along there.
And we can only break down within that some months, really.
Yeah. I'm aware of that. Yeah.
But we have done trials with that product around Hexham. We've just done a test in Pontyne with a different product, where that's 90% recycled material. But again, if the material's right, that brings it back into our own house delivery teams and we can deliver it ourselves rather than relying on the contractor.
Brilliant. Okay.
But
Cheers, Jim.
the example there, again, on the capital programme, we recycle material, we're looking after our carbon footprint, we're doing everything we can do with warm temperature asphalts, and working with suppliers, working with industry, and we put 11,000, last year's almost successful. When I say foam mix, it doesn't mean anything, does it? So, but foam mix is a product where we'll dig up an old road. If anyone from the labs tour, we dig up the old road. It's got a benzopyrene in it. It's a hazardous material. If we were to take that to landfill, that would cost around £140 a tonne to take to landfill. But we make a product out of it, which is a coal-based product, and put it back into our road network. So rather than get 11,000 tonne of virgin aggregate out of the quarry, all that carbon impact, we put 11,000 tonnes back into that, which is saved 1.2 million on the capital. So we're looking at the revenue money, but doing our best to look at the capital money as well.
Once again,
Can I just ask, one of the big things is about laboratory.
Yes.
Sorry, because it's interesting because you're working on our NCC laboratory on products, because I do know that we have, obviously, you do all kinds of work on the highway. They put pins in and goodness knows what. The surface might look good, underneath it could be absolutely cracking up. And that's all the work you do in the laboratory. And I gather you were going to ask members to go around and have a look at the laboratory. So will that be arranged? I think you were going to.
Each group was asked to send 2 people. I think.
Probably the dates, wasn't there?
What's that?
Dates changed.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yes, that was like, I mean,
By the day after it had been.
I think, David, you touched on it last meeting, didn't you? How you missed the dates or something, you wanted to go along to the labs.
Yeah. Oh.
If there's an appetite, we'll do it again.
Sorry,
Leaders were written to and asked if they wanted to send a couple of delegates along.
I'm sorry, we weren't informed.
If we've got enough interest, we can
We'll do it again.
Yeah,
It was useful, wasn't it? Yeah, because we did labs and science services and then looked at the depot that we use for the material supply for the Juicens contract. And so give you a flavour
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
what goes on in the background when we're sitting telling you all this in these scrutiny meetings. But just because Councillor Dale's raised it, every road that we deliver on the capital programme, any road we do works on, that's cored. So we'll take a core around that depth, and then that's analysed within the lab to see what the condition of that material is like in the road. So yeah, we do that as well, and that's in our lab, which is UCAS accredited. Capital expenditure, I've put a slide in there to show what we're spending on the roads and how it's spent. I'll not labour the point because we'll be pushed for time, but you can see where we're spending our money. So when we go to Department of Transport and tell them how we're spending our money, we break that down into those categories because micro surfacing, surface dressing programs are seen as a preventative maintenance. So a lot of people see surface dressed as micro, it's a sticky plaster, if you like, but it gets us up to 10 years additional for good condition on that road network. Again, that's in-house, but that's been reckoned. So DFT scoring mechanism, preventative maintenance is a key subject going forward.
Sure.
Yep.
When you resurface roads and so on, like residential roads, and you're left with a lot of grit at the side, is that micro surfacing again?
It's micro surfacing and it's surface dressing's a lot less now because we lock that material in. But when you're starting, so that you'll micro surface and you've got to let the material bed in, and it's best using traffic to bed the material in. So you'll get a load of detritus, what looks like it's failing, doesn't it? It doesn't look very pretty when you do it. But then we go back and constantly sweep to
Sometimes we get a flag from people saying, like I said before, residents say, oh, look at the state of this, haven't even swept off them. But if we understand where you're coming from, we could argue your case a lot better.
Definitely, because you're talking, he's not right, around £5 a square metre for micro surfacing.
Yeah.
For resurfacing in a 40mm inlay in a main road, you're up to £18 a square metre. Surface dressing's around £7 a square metre. So that's what, as officers, we're looking at that network and going, what's your square meterage rate for this, what's the best option for that section of road, and looking after the money at the end of the day, yeah.
That's all right.
Okay, so that's that slide, the previous slide, sorry, explains that. I have touched on this about the 3-year programme benefits. I'll just leave that as an information piece. You can see where we're coming from with that, but that's key going forward. So which I'll show you, we've got 3-year programme mapped out, which is essential for us working with utility contractors and everyone else that wants to work on the highway. So I see that as a massive benefit going forward if we get it right. So we've shown you all this, but we're still dealing with individuals and people are fallible, and there's always a surprise around the corner. Constantly when you're in the highways business, it's good for the blood pressure. What else we use is AI tools. So there's been new DFT guidance put out last year on how councils collect condition data. So again, we've been in the forefront of that data collection because we've been using this AI tool as a trial for 5 years. And that gets going forward, that'll get submitted yearly. We are looking at automatic pothole detection now. So we're looking at rather than sending inspectors to mark a pothole out on a 16-mile-an-hour road where it's a high-risk environment, it's a bit of a low working risk. We can train the AI to automatically detect the pothole and then instruct works directly to the operational team. So we're on that journey. So, yeah, it's quite well advanced. Yeah, well.
Can I just, is that by doing it via Google?
No, I'll show you. So
Everyone's seen the system.
on top of all that, we've got the drainage element, which you all know about, and you know the pressures that the gully cleansing takes. There's some quite good stats on what an actual gully can take capacity wise, and we're getting downpours like last week, where it doesn't matter how many gullies we had on that section of road, the capacity just isn't there because the downpours are so intense. So in 2024, on the 8th of October, I think it was, in Blythe, when we had the flooding in Blythe, they had nearly 90 millimeters of rain in an hour. Doesn't matter what infrastructure you put in, or how many gullies, or how many times you clean those drains, you just can't cope with it, can't do it. So what we're trying to do now in building in the capital is build more capacity in that drainage, but that will put a maintenance pressure on. So whatever we do on capital, we've got to be conscious of the revenue pressures going forward as well. We did a great piece of work with the additional money we got last year on gully cleansing and ditching and the land management document that Councillor Dale just shown. And that's paid dividends over the last 6 months, I would say, Andy, wouldn't you? Because we've had named storm events, but we haven't had a lot of flooding and property flooding and a lot of call-outs. So it just shows you the preventative maintenance side, it's worth its weight. And that's what we're focusing on. So 2025, 86,000 gullies. We're getting around 30,000 gullies done a year now. That's all route-based, and then ad hocs on a certain day of the year. That's just a snapshot of what our gully routes look like now. So they're week by week gully routes, which are being planned in with the teams. That just shows 3 weeks around Ashington, I think that is, and what that looks like for the teams. So if you look at all those dots, right, in Ashington, think of how many cars that's parked on those streets. So that's a challenge for us on working from home and cars and things like that.
Councillor Silver?
Yeah, Chris, I was just on gullies. Obviously, we all walk past gullies and they're full to the surface. Clearly, they're not empty. We've got 86,000 gullies. Do you have a handle on how many gullies are actually blocked at this present time? Is that something you measure when you do your road inspection?
Yeah. So we collect the data. So when they go, it's in the next slide, I think. So we've got weekly routes by zone. When I say zone, that's an inspector area. So the council split it into 12 zones. We want to show that impact in that area. So why it's consolidated like that. One, it's efficient, but then residents will see that tanker on a daily basis. So you'll should have more impact in the perception that there's resources there. There's people in the area cleaning the gullies. So we've looked at that as well as a bit of a hearts and minds activity. We've got the status on arrival, we've got the status of the junction, we've got silt levels. So if it's constantly silted up when they attend that, then that goes for further works. We've also got a trigger in there. If it takes longer than maximum 8 minutes to clean that gully, you're wasting your time. Move on to the next one so we get the productivity levels up. So what we've done, or what we're doing soon, is we're installing sensors in these repeat areas. So what we focused on the trial is Blythe, because that's the latest area that got flooded back in 2024. So we've put some key gully sensors in, which is then have got telematics in, which will then tell us what the condition is if they're getting repeat silted. So we can look at that and see if we can make improvement works. There'll be a press release coming out in the next couple of months for that. But then on top of that preliminary data, we've got our gully sensors. We've got sensors in the bunker site at Hexham. So that's all telematics because that's a problem area. It's in a basin. So that then sends information to the out of hours teams. And then there was a repeat offending subway in Cramlington. And we've got sensors, telematics in that because that affects the thoroughfare through manor walks and things. So we get all that information as well. Touched on it. That's our system. It's a single source of truth. There's no hiding. It's completely transparent across all the areas. That collects all the data. It collects local transport plan, gullies, emergency out of hours. We've got all our land information, adopted network, grid routes, road markings go in there now, and signage goes in there. So everything's collected on the one digital platform. Yeah, so there's loads of information there, but it means nothing if it's not meaningful and we can't do anything about it. So we build up these screens here that you can see all into the KPI. We can then get information to portfolio holders and key stakeholders within 5-10 minutes, which these reports were taking weeks, if not months, to get the information for just a few years ago. All our managers can see that all our supervisors can see that that's pulling data from Fix My Streets, pulling performance data from Alloy, and it's showing what's happening on the network on a regular basis. That's got about a 5-minute lag, 10-minute lag. All that goes into our camp, which I mentioned at the very beginning on the asset management side. So all that information is then fed into our network, which then spits out what we need to do, how we need to do it, what's the best treatment on the network, where you're going to get more bang for your buck, and what the right treatment types are going to be. Like I mentioned before, all that theory, all that practice, all that data has got to go to the Department for Transport to prove that we have been a good council and a performing council. Councillor Mather mentioned we were top amber, we like to call it, 0.4% away from being green. We're working with the DFT, with a working group, to see how that scoring mechanism is going to work going forward, so it becomes meaningful and the councils are more aware. So that was nationally that wasn't received very well, and we've had further engagement with the DFT, and there's a strategy meeting in the next 6 weeks, I think. But everything I've shown you means absolutely nothing if you don't link it properly and don't connect it properly to the asset. And that's what it can mean. So we based our structural patching work, £2.5 million investment based off all that data being fed in and the weightings, count the potholes on each section and where it needs treatment. Back a few years back, you would be sending people out onto the streets, driving around everywhere, getting out the vehicles, measuring up, looking at everything, whereas we can just send that out straight away to the area teams and say, do you agree, disagree? What's your members' feedback? What's your residents' feedback? Do you think that's where we should be spending our money? Again, data means nothing if you don't perform. So, like Andrew touched on before, we've seen a reduction. We've seen a peak in the winter months because that's what happens during the winter. But what it has done, it's reduced our insurance claims around 76%. Our repudiation rate is high, but it's high because we're not getting as many claims. So you just need one claim to go awry, which affects your repudiation rate. We've seen a spike in February, I think, of 133 claims based on impact with potholes and weather, but we don't know what status those claims are at because they're at the early stages. So we don't know if we're repudiating or agreeing with those claims. Again, the teams work with the insurance department on that. And that's the maintenance one. Yep. Now I think
I was talking about that last question on the insurance claims.
Yeah.
Right? Only because we are self-insured. So all claims can counts to need the cost of externally done. Right. So I think I've always said the more we spend on highways, we should get less pothole claims.
in theory.
In theory. So it was always interesting to note that the more the better work you're doing, because the amount of work now, you've got technology, whether you've got Wi-Fi or 4G that covers that area or 5G, I know that's a problem.
All our systems, if they don't have signal, they store the data, and then when they get signal, it uploads.
Yeah, that's fine. So basically, it's just a matter of are the claims getting less? And if you put it against the weather claims and everything else,
You can map it. You can match it. So you can match your claims with weather conditions and climatic events. And your reports now, so you can see your peaks and troughs throughout the year. So we can analyse now where it's post analysis. You can't. Well, you will be able to predict going in the future where the thing, but that's early doors. But we can look back and review and go where were the peaks, and we can heat map. Part of the work we're doing. We'll take grid bins, for example. So all our grid bins are digitally mapped. They're an emotive subject, aren't they? A grid bin is an emotive topic. So we've got 2,300? 2,228. So we've got all those grid bins on the network. We've got to replenish those grid bins every year, which is labour intensive and very costly. We can now track to see how many grid bins how many times those grid bins have been replenished. Then we can review that and go, well, it's never been filled. So for 2 years, what's the point? Do we need them? And that's what we're building all this data up for, to actually make those informed decisions going forward.
I think
So, yeah,
what I really want to know is the other thing is how many claims you get who actually don't meet any, well, the size of pothole or whatever, because that's the problem. We get an awful lot more people actually putting on Fix My Street, which actually aren't transferable to actually
I
action.
think we said 53,
43.
43%.
Yeah, but also it'd be interesting to see how many we do with your insurance claims. Likewise, don't reach the performance.
We're around, based on 2025 figures, we're around 61%. But we need to be 90%.
Yes, absolutely.
So we need to be well, repudiation rate needs to be in the high 80s, 90s as a collective, and that's what target is, to get that repudiation rate.
Maybe the insurance claims group can give you KPIs, so you get
I've
more,
got it all, yeah.
you get more money back if you don't have a
Yeah,
claim.
I've got a full insurance dashboard, which it's live, and I can see everything that's going on in that. And you can see, the teams can see there's a monthly insurance meeting, go through the claims, the example shared. A lot of insurance claims are down to the judge at the end of the day now. So it's all the channel. Yeah, personal injury claims, yeah.
Right, so I think we'll have a very brief demonstration of the system.
Right.
If you can get it plugged in.
I'll try and get this to work. So
Andy, I've just sent you a meeting invite so that you can join. You don't need to.
Plug it on.
I'm not messing with calendars, and I'll just join the team.
Do it which way you prefer. I don't know about plugging in, but I've sent you the meeting invite so that you can share your screen.
Right, I'll do that then.
It needs a listen.
I can't use a remote control, so I think.
Yeah. I'm blaming the remote. That remote control's not right. You need to change the
It
button.
doesn't help if you point it over there.
I was pointing every direction. It's still.
There's a lag. You work with lags.
I remember when the laptops first came out, PCs came out.
Right.
You've got this manager sat with a mouse.
Let's go.
Have you got it?
Yeah. So I'll touch on I was on about the road AI, the system that the inspectors have got in the vehicles. So when I say road AI, I'll just reset this because so each inspector's got a camera in the van. They turn the ignition on. That camera starts recording. What that camera is recording is all the video data and what it's actually seeing. But then there's an AI tool in the background which then splits that video information into road width, if it's curved, if there's a sign there, whatever, everything the human eye can see, the AI then identifies as a thing, as an object. We've tested the functionality of the AI over the last 5 years, and it's around 88% to 92% efficient and accurate. So if you compare that to a human, a human's around mid-50s to 60s, depending on how they're feeling that day, or what's going on in their personal life, or what's happening around them. If someone might have said something that they might have read an email that morning and thought, it's emotive, there's emotions involved. Whereas this just looks at the information, what's presented before it. So that's what the county looks like once it gets there. So that's every road that's been inspected over the last 12 months, over the last year. So if I just want to see where the potholes are, I can just select the pothole information there, and it shows us where the potholes are based on moderate, severe, whatever. This isn't tested at the minute, this isn't actual, okay? If I want to see traffic signs, I can then just click on traffic signs. I'll just zoom in a little bit. And then when that recording took place, it shows the exact sign, exact condition of the sign. If the sign's been missed, so the key point if the sign's been missed is that it's disappeared. It's either been knocked down or so people can look at that. It pulls up the sign and it shows you the exact location of the sign, what it should look like, etc., etc. On the condition, if we just pick the same road section. So 6 days ago that was driven. So if someone complains about something or someone's designing something on that road or there's an issue on that road, we've got the live HD video data there. So we can virtually drive that part of the network. What is then collecting is the surface condition, if there's any cracking on it, if it's been surface stressed, that's the PAS 2161, that's the guidance that the DFT's put out, that it meets that criteria or the criteria around that. Any structural defects, the road marking condition, any traffic lights, street lights, chambers, and the width of the road. So all that data has been collected constantly across the county using the AI tools, using an inspector's vehicle who will be driving around the county anyway, conducting their daily activity. So that's pulling in all that information in one page. That's what it looks like. This survey data then gets fed out into our TAMP and into our Horizons software. But if I want to see what kind of sign in line with the TSRDG regulations or where we've got so many 40-mile-an-hour zone signs, it'll pull all the 40-mile-an-hour zone signs in the county. If I want to go back in time, it can pull all that data in as well. So that's the AI side of things, what we're using. When I get on about the database we've got in Alloy, so all the teams, when they open up this system, this is what they see. Just knock that off. So they see all this. So when we look at if I'm an area manager or a maintenance engineer and I look at here and I can see how many defects. So we know in this point in time, defects highway. So that's everything, that's not just potholes, that could be flags, curves or whatever. They can see in the snapshot, they've got 2 hours, they've got 24s, they've got 14, they've got 28s. So we can see instantly where we're going to get peaks, drops, where we can manage resource, and where we're going to have an issue. Grit bins is the same. These are the zones. So jobs due in zone 1, we know there's 85 jobs there. We know there's 11 to be completed in the next 7 days. So all that information is just live for the teams. LTP program. That's just all digitally captured now. So that's what, it's a lot of information there, but they're all the roads we're going to fix in the next 3 years. So again, digitally captured, all that information's on there. That then triggers workflows and instructions to teams on what we want to do. But what that's going to give us though, is when that road's complete, you're very reliant on local knowledge, and everyone's reliant on local knowledge. People who's been here 20, 30 years knows the inside out of their area, knows exactly what happened down at Mrs. Miggins' house 10 years ago. You'll lose that, but with this, we'll capture all that data. So we'll know when we surfaced the road, we'll know what material we used. When we're testing materials, testing different products, we'll know what that quality of that product is. So that's, the teams are working across that, across revenue and capital. Gullies, there was a slide in there about the gullies. So if we just look at the Castle Morpeth team, we call them red, amber, greens. So you can look at the gully detail. So all those 86,000 gullies are digitally plotted. We can see what it is. We can see it was cleared both sides of the road. We can see what water it is. Silt level was 100% when they got there, so we know that could be a problem with silt level on that gully itself. When it was last inspected, the date and time, what flood zone it's in, because that's key for all the flood mapping and what it is. Construction type, getting completed, who gully team, that's just last gully team there, and the rating of that gully. So we're pulling all that information through. We've got the geometry, We've got the jobs on it, so we can look at the job. And then we can see it was not operational on arrival, so then it was flown, and then we can see if it's got the attachments. Doesn't, I will pick one that hasn't got a photograph. So that should pull the imagery up of the team that inspected it. But it's just all that information for staff and users. It's literally a left or right. So you don't have to be a whiz. You don't have to be a computer whiz, a tech whiz to use how we built the system. You just got to know some basic fundamentals and you can find the answers out to everything you want. The PowerPoint I showed you, where I showed you the dashboard. This is live data, so we can just pull this data up live on performance on teams and how and what's going on. What's it long? So we can see what zones are performing, what repair types you've got by defect type. I know it's a lot of information, but it just shows you what we're doing and how the performance is related. We can then look at the detail of each of the 32,000 jobs. It's not syncing because I haven't got my connection's not great because I'm sharing on Teams. We can then see how many inspections we've completed on the network, who's inspected them, is it complete, was it within SLA, out of SLA, and then we can get the granular detail about the potholes, what zone it's done and what status each pothole's at. So that's like, took what, 5 minutes or something to show you all that information. Then you've got the net, this is integrated into one network as well, so it's got all one network data waiting, so utility contractors, and so that's one network. So that's what's going on in the northeast as of now, as far as road closures and everything's concerned. So that's going to be the focus over the next few years. It's connected vehicle data. So you can buy data from VW and Audi, which shows half brake and suspension, gets all that data. You see what is being electronically captured by the car. They're looking at as a value and trying to sell you that information, so then you can predict road deterioration, potholes, and things like that. So that's early doors as well, which we're looking at, which will feed into this system here when you're looking at the AI tech and condition. But that gives you road surface condition, asphalt condition. If I want to look at the surface road, I didn't show you surface road markers actually. Then that looks at the condition of each of the road markings in the area. Tells you what it is, what's the sign, and then the imagery there. So we can pull the condition of all the road markings and do an assessment. We can see what signs are damaged. We can see where the demand is. To fix my street point on reporting, I'll just change me screen. So when we're on about informing the public about policy, what is a pothole, how it works, etc., etc. So if you go fix my street, we'll always want people to add an image, and we'll pick where we are in a minute. So when the member of public goes and reports on the system, they can only click on adopted highway is the first point. So if we don't own it or we don't maintain it, we can't do anything about it. What we are looking at is housing developments where we haven't adopted yet, but then triggering a message saying it's a Bellway site, it's a Persimmon site, but we've got that meeting with the developers in the next month or so. So you go and report a road, you go and report a pothole. So firstly, we're telling the resident, or we're asking the question, is it that pothole that you're reporting? So they're getting that information. If they want to say this is the problem, they can sign up to get the updates. If they want to continue and report, we're then giving them the information there. This is what we'll fix. This is what we won't fix. It's got to be 40 mil by 300. Adding a photo will help us. So we need that information from them. If they don't read, they can still not read it and choose not to read it, still report it. We can't stop that. But we're trying to tell them as much as we possibly can at the front end before they continue the report. Generally, if you're looking at all reports in your wards and patches or want to know anything about it, you've got this reports section when it loads up. You can, if there's a lot of pins, well, you can either knock pins off on the app version, but then if you just want to see what's open on certain things, you can filter by what's open, and then that pulls in. That'll just highlight where there's issues in your parish, ward, area, whatever. So you can use that filter as well. I have shown this before in the past, where if you've got wards, or you can set up zones so you get alerts as a town, parish, or whatever. You can click on more with, and if you want to know the problems within a certain kilometre, that'll just generate an email to your own email box telling you what's happening in your area, if you want that. But and you can subscribe to that. You can also, in your account, you can knock that off as well. So in your own personal account, if you don't receive any emails, you can knock that off. No alerts, no questionnaires. You can edit that as well. So if you're sick of getting emails saying, "Is your report this, this, and this?" because you're making a lot of reports, you can just knock that off on the system and then update it. You want to see anything else?
What they report,
No. So I've shown you fixed street stuff. We've done the presentation, shown the AI, I've shown you the data. I can show you what the county looks like, how many defects across the county as of today. But I mean, hopefully you're getting the gist of everything, what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go, performance levels, pressure, demand from the public. Hopefully we're getting that across.
Yes.
Well, that's very good, very good.
I'm just going to be cheeky now and say, I think it's great. And I just think the amount of information you've got puts us all in our place when we complain about something, because you'll say, that's going to. But the thing I've got, which is going back to what we were talking about last week, is that bag of pothole things, is that the 43% are only triggered. And that is because the public don't understand what a pothole is. So we have this conversation. Andy, you bought one there. I've got one here. I actually got somebody to do a printout thing to show what it should be. But actually, if you say 300 millimeters to somebody, I don't know what it is. If you say it's an A4 piece of paper, just a little bit bigger, you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this thing about people. So it was just like, you've made that. I've got something to fit in there, right? But it's actually to make people more aware of what a pothole is, because every time they go out and somebody looks at the pothole, somebody goes out and looks at it, and it's not a pothole. It's a waste of officers' time. It's an officer altogether. So the more we can actually get them to understand how big a pothole is and how they should do it, it's more important to me, because I get them all the time. People say, "Oh, look at that, look at that." I'm like, so I have done some work, because we were all going to do some work, and then Andy went and said, "I've done a pothole." I was told, I thought, that's not fair.
I made the mistake, Chair, and said whoever can demonstrate the best pothole.
Oh.
He's doing.
Oh, wow. So I think we've got excellent.
Competition that's,
Well, okay, well.
How did we get, so we know what a pothole is, we attached the policy. Hopefully this will help, because what we need to do is, I know it's tongue in cheek, but it's got some real meaning where we've printed this off, but how can we showcase that to the public to go, we'll only come out and fix it if it's like this. So I can improve the website, but then people's got to go on the website and look at it. I've done all the road shows. I've done all previous years. I've done local council events. I've done town and parish conferences. I don't think there's much I haven't tried to do in the last 3 years to get that message across. I've just shown you Fix My Street, it's given you the imagery, it's given you the dimension, there's a link when it doesn't meet intervention level, which takes you to the policy, which is the inspection manual. The next idea I've got is if we use this and we put it in county hall reception, but then people still got to come into reception and look at it. So it's how you get that across. And all I can think is that we use this today, and if any local councillors or members want more, you can help us get that message across as a councillor.
I'm not somebody who said, I'll put something together for you. So, this is not a pothole, it's not a pothole.
That's
And they've also put the Stanley on.
Give her the egg.
Anyway,
They'll can have it's 2 years out of there.
that was just, but it's got the scan on.
Yeah, that's very good.
But anyway, you can have that anyway.
You're so kind.
I've actually
I'll
done.
get my wife to frame it, we'll put it in the sitting room.
I've done it also. I don't know whether it's going to fit, that is the size of a pothole, right? Which is 300 by, it's round, it can be 300 either way. And it is 220p deep. Anyway, it's all glued up and it should fit in yours, Andy. Right? There was lots of ideas about what you could put inside.
it's got a duck.
I've got fishing, right? Or you could put Olympic swimmers.
What is it? Cake?
I've got ducks in.
Oh.
It's a pothole. It's the size of a pothole. I don't want anybody to be rude about it because it was an absolute nightmare. My husband has clarted on, but anyway, that's all stuck on.
I'm not bothered.
Okay,
Can I put that in the
yeah,
pothole?
let's put it over the pothole, yes.
Will it go in?
Yeah, well, we'll find out what it says.
Different levels on.
Oh,
Oh, right.
show us your pothole, then we'll have a vote on who's the best pothole for these
I've
two.
got 2.
So we've got,
Let's have a look at it because this is the.
so we've got, Andy's done 2. I don't know if you can see them, but they're 3D printed to look like actual, so we can build a model in the future to go, this is what it looks like. So that's, it's probably shown the variance of a pothole. I can't believe I'm standing here saying this, but it just shows how diverse potholes can be. So you've got 300 by 40 here, you've still got 300 by 40 there, but they're completely different. And when you look at them visually, they're different ends of the spectrum.
Right. Okay, so.
Sorry, Chris, but there's no duck, so you can.
So all those in favour of Councillor Dale's pothole?
Well, you can have it. It's.
Yeah. All those in favour of Andy's pothole? I think Councillor Dale wins the chocolate. There we go.
Give the duck half of
From
it.
your perspective, then.
It is glued on.
I think that from our body experience.
I think it's a picture for your article of those potholes. Right, okay, well, thank you very much for that
Thank you.
presentation and congratulations to the worthy pothole winner. So I think are we happy to note that report? Please?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on the agenda then to the next item, which again is Councillor Mather to introduce. This is a member small schemes.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So this report doesn't directly come from me, but I'm happy to introduce Chris to talk through the member small schemes and the opportunities that's there to help you use them. So I'll hand over to Chris.
Okay.
Do that.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
So we've got another presentation. Should we get up for the screen?
I'm pointing that way.
Oh, there we go.
So. Member small schemes, it's been going on a very long time. So member small schemes is around capital investment, which each councillor has got £15,000 funding a year, and it's got to enhance the asset over to a value of £2,000. So we've got to comply with the monitoring officer. You've all should have seen the guidance document in the financial regs. The process for yourselves, it will be engaged with highways and transportation team. We look at it. We'll give you guidance, we'll assist. Sometimes we can match fund, depending on how nice we're feeling on the particular day, depending on what's going on. And then we'll engage and secure realistic timescales. What I want to look at going forward are those realistic timescales, because I'm just conscious that members have put traffic schemes in the past, and it's took up to 4 years to get TROs in place. So we are looking at that. Eligibility for spending conditions, capital only. Some examples there: carriageway resurfacing we've done in the past, footpath improvements, new play equipment, traffic calming measures we put in. So we've got, if you go external, because there is the option for you to go for external funding, that's got to be 3 quotations and greater than 5 years tenure. So we submit the mills, the form, everyone's got to submit the form for it to be put forward. And then evidence it, what support you're getting from the community, how it's enhancing the assets. And then we look at the technical viability and assigning, and we track it, and you'll get your chip, well, we call it the chip sheet, you'll get your members' monthly report from Stephen Sams. Again, we monitor it, and then we've got the underspend, anything that's underspent, basically it gets moved on. So that's just the process. Go to highways program, we'll do an initial prelim estimate, then we'll design it, we'll set the full target cost. So when you see the change, you'll see officer said it was X at this point in time. That hasn't been fully costed and developed, so the costs could move to when we're ready to deliver on site. Scheme will get implemented, generally goes to our highways delivery team, or should go to the highways delivery team unless it's externally funded. And then you'll get your information through the chip sheet once it's complete. Schemes delivered 23-26, just a 3-year snapshot and the average value. So we've done 3 million, up to £3 million worth. Again, street lighting improvements, speed signs, SID signs, traffic calming measures, and then we've contributed to town and parish council. So positive, I think it's a positive scheme. It's received well. All I would do is urge members to spend the money. That allows us to forward plan and program and know what workloads is like. Some good examples there of how the money's been spent. So this is full contribution, partial contribution with partial contribution into the cricket practice facility at Ashington. We've done traffic calming on road. Interactive speed signs is always a topic where we invest in. And then we've done some additional hard standing where there was parking issues outside the clinic up in Berwick. So I just wanted to touch, because the initial query was, why does it cost so much when I can get a contractor to do it, or I can get someone else to work on the network? So I just wanted to point out the risks of doing that and what certain accreditation qualifications, etc. you need to work on the highway. So as you'll appreciate, it's a high working environment. We've got standards to comply with. We've got the Traffic Management Act. We've got, when we refer to Chapter 8, Chapter 8 is all the legal requirement for erecting temporary traffic management on the network. So when we see all those lovely traffic signals and people on site and putting temporary traffic management out, it's got to be put out to an accordance to a standard, to a legal code of practice and Chapter 8. To do that, you've got to be competent in New Roads and Street Works Act. You've got to have all the relevant temporary traffic management training. You've got to have your own risk assessments, method statements, operational activity schedules, and then the consequences of not having that, working on a 60-mile road with 30-mile, any speed limit road could be fatality. Dragging utilities is always a concern, and any damage to any assets which could lead to claims, HSE enforcement, and reputational damage. So, yeah, we always deliver the work by the traffic management professional teams. It's expensive, we know that, but we haven't had an incident or accident regarding traffic management for the last 2 years. We've had a huge amount of help. What comes into play as well is the thing you may have heard of, which is CDM, Construction Design Management. So these are the regulations and rules of engagement that sit behind when you're delivering any construction work. It could be house extension, it could be reconstructing the road. But I've defined there the duties. So if anyone's making that decision themselves and not following process or getting a contractor to put a new barrier in or bush shelter or whatever, on the highway, CDM falls into play. So I've just defined there who's the client. It's anyone making that decision in funding that activity or work. What the duties of that client are: they've got to produce the health and safety plan. They've got to design the risk assessment from a client perspective, so the contractor can then develop the health and safety pack and develop the risk assessments. What we find with the HSE is the CPP is a construction phase plan. What you've got to develop risk assessment, method statements. You've got non-compliance issues. Again, you've got you've got all that risk as a councillor, as a town and parish council, it would all be sitting with there, whereas if it comes through highways, it's all captured through our normal standard processes because we've got to do it because of the entity we are. So yeah, you've got no risk of unqualified, all that staff are trained, all the training's kept updated on a yearly basis. We've got all our training matrices for our staff to make sure they're competent and have completed all the necessary plan training, traffic management training, health and safety training, risk assessment training. That's just constant with our teams throughout. What we tend to do to keep our training to have minimal impact, we have a shutdown every December. We shut down for about 2 days to complete all our training. So I took that decision a few years back where we were trying to train all the way through the year and the operational impact was really significant. But we just decided 2-3 days a year, we just shut down, all the staff go into the depots and complete all the staff man training and any necessary training. We will have training throughout, but it'll be things for like class 1s and HGVs and telehandler training, roller training, safety digging practices, things like that. I'm saying Cat and Jenny training, but Cat and Jenny training is where you see those scanners where they detect utilities underneath, and it tells us the depth of utilities and things. So yeah, we've got higher from costs. We're higher cost, but we're compliant. We're insured. I like to think we're professional. So I've just minimum insurance for working on the highways. Public liability, employers' liability. If you design something yourself, you've got that professional indemnity that you've got to prove that it's designed. If you put something in, it hasn't been designed correctly, you're liable for that. Mandatory documentation we've got to put in. Again, I've mentioned risk assessments, method statements, traffic management request forms, booking the road space. It's labour intensive. And then we've got all the credentials we need to minimise that risk. So yeah, touched on that. Accredited, coordinated. Like to think we get good durable products, and you've got the insurance and governance that's in place through what we do through our routine work, which is coming to the members' schemes.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any questions or observations on that?
Like just to say, there's no risk you have to take.
Yeah.
And the compliance against the cost value of the food is minimal to manage that risk, because the risk is quite large, especially on the highway, horrendous. And that's somebody who actually knows, and parish councils are not people actually who manage highways or can manage that risk efficiently. That's my view, and I've seen it before, and I think it's really a good thing.
Well, we work with it. I think the point is we can work with anybody who wants to deliver something. But when we get quizzed about, well, it was that price at that point, why is it so expensive?
Yeah.
I just wanted to show we're expensive and probably more expensive than a small subcontracting company, a local builder or whatever, if you like. But we've got to have all this in place to allow us to physically work on the highway. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Sunberg?
Yes, thank you, Chair. First thing you touched on at the beginning, is there anything we can do to speed up the process sometimes? I have a scheme which is still not been implemented. It's still the L lines essentially in a build out for pedestrians. And it's been running now for 5 years.
Right.
I'm still not at the point of actually making a decision on if it can go forward. Obviously, residents get very frustrated that start these processes and like I might not even be a councillor, I might all be forgotten about them. Is there a way we can speed this process up?
Yeah, well, we're looking at it, and what we're working with the team is setting out that expectation level and sticking some durations in, but then feeding that back on why has it took 5 years? I don't know sitting here today, but that seems a long time to put some double yellow lines on.
Well, I'm waiting for a bit time for a speed limit change.
And are these members funded schemes?
Yeah.
Members.
Yeah. So and I'm told as it's with legal for the TROs, but it's been with legal for years and nothing's been done.
Yeah, but I've had discussions with legal about recently how TROs. We brought in a new advertising system last year, which consolidated our adverts because it's minimum 12 weeks anyway for a traffic regulation or for the legalities of it. But I have met with the head of legal about streamlining that. And then I'm meeting with the teams to go, right, what's the process to manage expectations going forward? But I agree, 5 years isn't good enough.
If we have been looking at it, trying to be as flexible as possible going forward. So things like in the past where it is flashy sign, there was one on the presentation that many of us will have funded, had to be solar. And now we're saying that we will actually put in hardwire electric if there's a street light there, because many places I've got them in my ward where you can't get solar to work because of trees and such like. So we are listening to the areas of the silly things that stop us doing that good work. And we're trying to be more flexible going forward for like speed signs and defibs as well, getting power hookups for them.
Any queries like that? I mean, have you spoken to Stevens? Is that the message Stephen Sam's given you on the update for your monthly cheap or?
Yeah, I mean, working with Stephen, working with Chris, so it's just very, very painful stuff.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, one of the things that's been brought to our attention is that people who have wheelchairs or pushchairs, etc., are finding it very difficult to access the pavements because of the 45-degree slope. They would much prefer the beveled pavements in some places, but obviously there's going to be a harbor cost implication there. What's your stance on that?
So we've got drop curbs. So we've got a drop curb program across the county, and that's managed through Richard McKenzie's team. Right. So if you've got requests like that, if it's a drop curb, they do it. But if it's a vehicular access to a property, because we sometimes get that cross boundary where people think that curbs are dropped for accessibility, but it's actually it's a vehicle access to an individual property. So you'll get the different, we call it a half back 10-inch curb on its back, like old money, which kind of go flat on the top but then kick down. So that's a dropped access. That's not an official drop curb. So we'll just have to get that feedback where you're getting the issues, and then we can look at it. But ideally we'd want to put drop curb access in. If it's needed. We get a lot around Ashington. And we've got a full drop. Yeah, we've got a full drop curb program.
Right. Okay. Any other questions on queries? Okay. Well, we're happy to note that report. That's very useful. Thank you. And that's two very good reports. Thank you very much. So just go on the agenda. So we've got our work programme. So next meeting.
Final meeting of the year, Chair, 29th of April. Originally, when you agreed the work programme, it was for the solar contingencies and the tree and woodland strategy reports. But now, of course, you know that the outcomes of the library service review to that meeting and the grounds maintenance review, which was supposed to come to this meeting, has been deferred. So rather than have 4 items next time, the solar contingency item will be the first meeting of the next year.
But we're going to finally get this tree report, which will be written.
We will get the tree report. Yes.
Basically, very picking up what Chris was talking about, our TROs, which are back to the legal department. And we were talking about the enforcement issues before. Yeah. David, you remember, and the lack of enforcement. And I just wonder how much the impact of the enforcement or the legal department in delivering TROs and all the other enforcement issues are having impacting on our service delivery, and whether we should be having a look at that.
Legal or fine?
I'm not talking about legal.
Right.
I'm talking about the delivery of TROs. The time, it's not just your TROs, right, traffic regulation orders. It's all the other things we had with planning enforcement and everything else. So it's a whole big picture. So it'd be good to see what work they do and have an impact on our service delivery. Well, that makes sense.
We did have a presentation on enforcement and the new processes on that, and maybe we were told about how they would changed everything. So maybe an update on that about how that's progressing would be.
I think so. There was something else as well. What did we have last week where you were saying, and you agreed actually that unless the legal department is there, what was it about? It's not on here.
Section 34.
It was something that
it was adoption of highways. 38. Section 38. Sorry. Yeah.
Right.
Section 38. It was the adoption of highways. So
that was, what do you call it? The head of health, the head health protection. What do you call it? Exec director.
Oh, Jill.
Yeah, Jill, who's one of something under her department.
I got a month off. Next month.
Next month.
Yeah, I'm just.
That's all I want to know.
It was all the ones that kept on saying, well, it actually, it all depends how reactive.
Yeah, we're working with legal, like I mentioned before, we've done that advertising piece last year, which has saved a lot of money, but then that's freed up capacity. So in us doing that's freed up legal capacity for things. Andrew's organised a highway law course next month, which we will come to talk about. I'm presenting with the police, all the inspectors and sergeants this morning, and presented to all the police force this morning on what we do as a highways authority as a business as usual activity. But from that, with Jonathan Casely, we're going to put a workshop together once we've done the highway law course about those niggles we get on abandoned vehicles. You're blocking my driveway, fly tipping, all those things that we all get pressures on.
It might have been.
And come up with a service level agreement between both parties, what the actions will be when we get these, because what you get is you'll get parking issue, goes to the police, highways go, we can't do it. Legally, we've got no teeth to actually enact on, so we're in the next 6 months of trying to tidy all that up.
I think that's an issue that we do want, I think, to come, because we do get that a lot. Yeah, the police always say it's not us, and our enforcement officer says it's the police. Yeah, so get them both at the same time. Get the police here and our enforcement team.
So close to this.
Who's
Not next one.
not next month, no, but if you can make a note to have that down the line.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you very much for that. So then there is no urgent business, so I'll close the meeting. Thank you very much.